Good morning, entrepreneurs. Terry Levine here. And I know it's Tuesday and this isn't the normal time. You might be going, what are you doing here? It's 10 a.m. Eastern. Well, my very special guest, a client family member, someone that I am proud and honored to call friend, is available to join me today at 10 a.m. And so we're not here at 2 today. We'll be back at 2 p.m. Eastern next week and every week going forward. This guest is too important for me not to say, let's just rework the schedule. So a couple things before we get started. We do broadcast with StreamYard. We're really delighted to have you. You can give StreamYard permission to use your name. Otherwise, when you make a comment, what I see is user. And then I can't comment back to you. And this is interactive. This is not just about me and my special guest. So before I introduce my guest, I want to remind you of a couple of cool things. Number one, pay attention and focus. That means close everything out. All of your other browsers, your email, turn your phone off. Give yourself these 30 minutes to get some incredible content from my guest. Oh, we've got people coming in already. This is awesome. Welcome. Good to have you. So, as you're listening, as you're watching, Stella and I are going to invite you to ask questions, to leave comments, and we will come back later to the Facebook Live feed. So if you're watching a replay, do hashtag replay. We will answer questions. We will respond to every comment. Just remember, Entrepreneurs with Terry Levine here on Facebook. Hi, Nathan. Is not a typical Facebook group. It is an interactive group with access and with help and with mentors. All right, without further ado, let me introduce my very, very special guest. So as you can probably already see, her name is Stella Ho. And Stella is absolutely incredible. Number one, I want you to follow her on all social media platforms. She puts up such great content and even does some cooking videos, which I love. And she is actually brilliant when it comes to really busting through the thing that I hear about almost every day, which we're going to talk about today, which happens to be fear. And it's very interesting, synchronicity of the universe style. I'll share this with you. About 25 minutes before we went live, a very close friend of mine messaged me about something that's going on in her life. And I said, well, it just sounds like you're afraid to move forward. And she said, that's it. It's fear. Now what do I do? And so I told her, come to the Facebook Live because Stella will help you. So Stella, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Tell us a little about yourself, what you do, and where you're located.
Yeah, I'm really grateful to Terry for changing the time to 10 because I live in Singapore. So we are on the opposite side of the time zone.
Yes.
So I'm really grateful that you can accommodate my time. I'm Stella Ho. I actually started for 25 years in real estate industry in investment sales in Singapore in a corporate MNC. About 10 of years ago, I started looking for my purpose in life. I realized that I don't want to trade time for money because I didn't have time to bond with my children. So I actually embarked on the mentoring journey, learning, searching, personal development, and growing myself first. And that was a long time ago. And over the past 2 to 3 years, I embarked on the online arena here. And with Terry's guidance, now I'm fully in this space, helping my clients to actually get out of their fear, to become powerful in their own zone.
Yes.
So
I'm just going to put down get out of fear. I want people to really think about that for a moment. In my experience, fear is the number one thing that holds people back from everything in life. So I'm going to invite people who are here to take a moment and just to really be honest with yourselves and to think about what is it that you're actually afraid of? What are you not stepping into? Because anything that you don't have in your business, in your life, in your health, and in your relationships has to do with this fear word. So Stella, tell us about it.
For those of you who finds that you're fearful of moving forward, sometimes it's not about just the fear. Fear is a symptom. It's just merely a symptom. There's something behind it, behind your procrastination, behind all this fear of success and fear of failures that is inside you. And people will just say, I'm fearful of something, but what is it are you fearful of exactly? How do you get out of this fear? And how do you identify what is the inner fears inside that's blocking you from moving forward? Yeah. And I want to actually share in this live, how do we actually go in depth? And
Good.
it's really something, a learning journey, and it's going to be very powerful. And I dissected it in my own process, in my own journey. And I realized that it is not the fear that is showing out now. So for example, when you have a headache, many a times it's not a headache. It's something else that's within the body. It is just something that is a symptom that surface to let you know something is not in order. You need to look deep inside yourself. But normally, people will just say, "Hey, I'm fearful. I'm either running away, hiding, escaping. Escaping is the easiest way to run away, and you escape from all your fears. You think you can escape? It cannot be done that way because it's inside you. It will be a vicious cycle that will reoccur again and again. So what we want to do is actually to identify the fear. You can take a piece of paper, a pen and paper right now, and start writing down what normally are you fearful of? What exactly? What are the words that you like to use when you're in fears? Yeah. Some people are fearful of success, but some people are fearful of failure. Which category do you fall in? Why do I say there are people fearful of success? For example, they are fearful of taking responsibility. They don't want to take the responsibility on themselves. So there is a fear to progress because they don't want the result for themselves. That's why some people complain, I don't even get my result. I work hard, but I don't receive my end outcome. Why is it so? Because your energy has blocked it. Actually, it's all about energy. Okay, so one of the techniques that I actually share in my journey, and I'm going to actually focus on fear to power, is to dive into what's the inner child fears. There is actually an inner child fear within us. Between 0 to 6, a child forms its reality in the world. And at different stages, they require different kind of support. And at that point in time, if you're not given that level of support, later in life you will suffer because you are lack of a certain love in your life. For example, 0 to 1.5 years old, a child needs security. That's why they will cry for hugs. And if the parents then do not give sufficient hugs and assurance to the child, later on in life, they will have insecurity in their life. They will feel lack of love all the time. No matter how much love you seem to give the person, your spouse, you give so much love, but somehow he cannot connect the love, or he or she cannot connect the love. That's because they are lack of that love during the 0 to 1.5 years, 1.5 years growing up stage. So at different age, there is a growth required. And so we need to understand that from each age group, what are the requirements? And from 1.5 to 3, that's the point in time when curiosity really starts for the child. They want to learn, they want to start to touch something hot and start to feel for things. But at that point in time, if the parents say, no, don't touch it because the kettle is hot, but the parent do not explain to the child, but just give a no, and the kettle is hot. They do not experience the hotness. They don't even realize. It only come to them as, hey, you can't do this. It's about no, no, no. So naturally later on in their life, there is a tendency to repeat the same vicious cycle, tell the children no again. So can you imagine if you are the child who's given a constant no? What kind of self confidence would you build at that point in time? So we actually want to go dive very, very deep into understanding at each juncture in your life, which is the result, that was caused by a certain action of your parent. The child tend to be hurt very easily. And a simple no, even a no to their biscuit, a cookie, without a reason, without a proper understanding, just creates a question mark in their head. It just stack on the questions in their mind. Why am I not allowed to do everything in my life? And as you grow up, this memories doesn't leave you. It stays inside you. It gets anchored inside you, especially because your for home environment is such. Your parent, your teacher, or your grandparents, the people surrounding you keep telling you, no, 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 you can't do this and that. And from 3 to 6 is the time when the child gain a level of understanding that they need to be responsible for their life. That's when they start to learn to button their shirt, wear their pants, put on the socks themselves. These days, a lot of parents are protective. You wear the shoe for the child, you wear every single piece of clothing for the child. The child doesn't know how to gain responsibility, how to know how to take care of themselves. So later in life, the same thing, they would not know how to take care of themselves because they're protected throughout their life. And of course, this is the most crucial period, the 0 to 6. 7 to 9 is the time they want to be acknowledged for their behavior, acknowledge and praise for their good results. So this is the time that many parents, because of societal pressure, you might not praise your child for doing well in their schoolwork, playing the violin well, so they don't get the kind of sense of achievement. So 3 to 6, you need to have them have the sense of achievement and build upon their inner strength within themselves. So this is actually a process of understanding what is your inner fear within 0 to 9. Of course, 12 onwards is a different point in time where they want to actually have a sense of identity. That is why people say teenagers, they are rebellious. It's not true. They are not rebellious. They just want to anchor and position their own identity. So the parent, if you're used to saying, no, 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 you can't do this and that, the child has no ability to actually stand for themselves and say, this is my identity. I can take care of myself and I can build my own inner strength. Why do I want to share this part of the basic foundation? This is because when we actually sit down and write down our fears, what are the common fears? Confidence, low self-esteem, fear of taking responsibility. All these, when you list down, you can start to identify at which stage you're neglected in life. And then we can actually do a process that I actually do in my group, which is called memory lane. And this memory lane can actually go into a subconscious level to clear all these childhood memories out of our life. The body is a very clever object. It actually can retain all this memory all the way from childhood. And I even have a client family who told me that she went into her fetal state. And I think she probably went through a traumatic stage when she was in the fetal state, meaning the mother could potentially be in a very state of discomfort or stress or pressure. So she did feel it in her fetal state. And when we dive deep into this kind of memory and we remove that actually empower them a lot. In fact, one of my client families, because she actually went through a process with me to actually identify what was not working in her life as a child. She came from a single parent family and she had to stay in Singapore. She wanted to stay in Singapore. She didn't want to return to Malaysia to be with her father. She doesn't get the kind of family support from Malaysia. So, but she lived in poverty here with her parent, with her mom. So from a child, she lived in a poverty mindset. And she pursued her poverty by chasing after money. However, we need to understand that money is energy, right? So the more you chase, the harder you work, and the more stressful you become, and it just goes in a cycle and a cycle and a cycle. It's never ending. So when do we want to break our cycle? We need to first control our own inner fears. And once we start to identify this inner fear and remove them layer by layer, because we're like an onion, we need to peel over time, a layer by layer. And each process, you dive deeper into your inner childhood, you can clear a lot of things that get you stuck in your life, emotionally, financially, and mentally. Yeah, so this is really what I feel many people might want to really focus in identifying what is this inner fear inside. Sometimes you're not even aware because you are generally joyful and happy. You are not even aware that there is a level of fear inside you that is really, so small that you feel that you can just sweep under the carpet, but it will surface when situation arises. And that's when situation arises, then that is the hardest point in time in your life to deal with that kind of circumstances. So do take responsibility and learn the memory lane process, learn how to take care of yourself. And in fact, I did this memory lane for my child just 2 weeks ago. My 18-year-old girl, she is always confused. Her language is I'm confused. Confused is a common word. So from there, there is a memory inside her that made her confused. So when I did the memory lane process with her, she realized that there was a few occasions that she was left in school because my in-laws were supposed to fetch her. They forgot. So she was left in school alone, and the security guard was closing the door and realized that how come this young little girl in her lower primary school is still in school? And when I asked her in the memory how she feels, she said confused. She didn't say scared because normally you would think that the little girl will say scared, but she said confused. So the confusion has been caused in her primary school days between 7 to 9. So that caused a deep memory that we need to clear it out of the system. So I did the clearing for her, and then she's much happier now. Not as confused as before.
I love that. Let me ask a couple of questions. This is fantastic. By the way, gang, can you see how Stella really goes deep? She understands what fear is, where it comes from, how it's made up, how it forms in terms of a human being and the way that we are in the world. And Carl said it really well. Great process and insights. Absolutely. Let me kind of go into a couple things. Yeah, that is beautiful with the memory lane and the example, teaching by example. It is fantastic. I agree. So a couple quick things. All of us, every human being has fear. Okay. We just do. Some of it's sort of programmed into us as being human beings, and some of it comes unconsciously through childhood experiences. And in my experience, one of the issues that I have as a business consultant, and see if you relate to this as a mentor also, people come to you and they just want the actions. What do I have to do to grow my business? How do I get more leads? What program should I develop? It's like, wait a minute. You have all kinds of stuff going on inside that is part of your inner game that we have to look at. So what would you say to that versus people just wanting to go into action versus stopping and taking a look at what their fears are? I'm curious.
This is very common. Most people think that I just need the tools and the software, the program, whatever, the steps. They fail to realize is the emotional part of in themselves that they need to take care. So my client family come to me this way. Stella, I need this and that and that. I tell them pause. Always remember that whatever the rest of the external resources are tools. Tools are readily available. You can go to anyone for support. You can pay for it to be done. However, it is an inside of you that you must be strong mentally, emotionally to actually go through this entrepreneur cycle, journey that you call whatever, the circle of life. So usually I'll pause them and then I will redirect them to look at what's working for you in the past, what's not working. Is there a vicious cycle that always happen in your life? Yeah, maybe you have a friend who always you have a good friend, and 6 years later they became your enemy. What was it? Was it your speech, your own behavior, or something else that wasn't working? Because this behavior would be reflected in business. So we want to remove it out of the system. So we start with the inside job exactly.
Excellent. So I see we have a lot of agreement there. I'll just share something quick that I have seen, Stella, and let you respond to that. So I've seen people who've made a lot of money in business. I mean, a lot of money. And then 4 years later, they're homeless. And I've seen them then make a lot of money again. And 2 years later, they're homeless. And I've also seen people who never make a lot of money, never get a lot of clients, and really want to share their stuff. And they think, why are other people doing it? Why isn't it working for me? Do some of these things relate to fear or what's going on unconsciously?
Yes, typically it would be somebody in your life who has gone through that cycle and you're modeling it. Subconsciously, you're modeling it. Let me share with you my personal experience. You will actually relate this very well. My father is a businessman, was a businessman. He has retired. But when I was 15 years old, his business was taken advantage of. But throughout his life, I never see him. He's working from 8:30 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. So he's always trading time for money. I don't see him. He's working hard for money, but he falls in the cycle of work hard for money, but the money disappear. So at one point in my life, I feel that, hey, I seem to be walking his path. I'm trading time for money because I was working for corporate. I wasn't able to look after myself in terms of investment. And I see myself potentially falling into that cycle. So that's when I pause and I reflect in this memory and I clear this memory inside me because I do not want to model him trade time for money, then earn some money now. In his old age, he's just paying off by paying the hospitals for his sickness right now. He has cancer and he has stroke, but he has since recovered. So these are imprint. I call it imprint that stays in the body from people around you. And one of the important thing is never let your child watch horror movies
Mm.
because it stays as an imprint. We think it's a movie. We think it is some alien attacking, but these are imprint that we want to really avoid imprinting in a child in early childhood. So yes, modeling my mom's thinking, I love that because I was also thinking I don't want to model my mother. Then that's when it's always a constant reminder. And of course, in this memory lane process, I have a process which is called memory lane. And then we remove all this imprint out of our life step by step. And it is not magic. It is a simple process and technique that everyone can learn and should learn and look after themselves and their family.
Mm, thank you for that. This is brilliant. I will say this that I feel very lucky, Stella. I don't know if I've shared this with you, but I feel really lucky because I realized that I had things that were holding me back that had to do with fears and programming and following in what, parents, clergy, friends, parents, my friends, all kinds of people. And I really believed all of these things, right? And they were running. What I did, and this might be helpful for others, is I worked on myself first. I didn't start my first business and be instantaneously successful. What I did first, some of my client family members know this, is when I had no money at all, none, in 1981, I believe, I actually hired Zig Ziglar. And I took out a small business loan to do it. And I said, I could never have a successful business or a successful life unless I figured out what the programming was. And once I got myself worked on, seriously, then I started businesses, and every one of my businesses, weren't really successful. And people say to me sometimes, oh, you're just so lucky or you're so good at business. I'm like, there's something else here. I took years and years of working on myself, noticing and being curious and open to the imprints and to making the shifts. What would you say to that? How would you relate to that? I don't think we
Yeah.
talked about it.
Yes, I want to also share this part on the imprint part. There are some people whom you think are very successful, very smart, and they seem to, okay, let's just say we go to a seminar, we learn something all together, 10 of us. But there will be one person who's extremely smart, but somehow they don't get started. They can't get started. What is it that's stopping them? There is an inner fear inside them that they are not even aware. Maybe they are trying to be the smart aleck, trying to break down what is should not be working and things like that instead of pursuing it on a progressive basis. So actually they have this inner fear which they are not even aware at a subconscious state. So we want to actually look into that for each and every one of us. Oh, and I also want to also share something else. Sometimes a positive imprint can also stop you from going forward. So we want to be aware what is the positive imprint that is working for you. And you become aware so you do not become complacent. One, yeah, because complacency sets in very easily. Human ego sets in very fast.
Mm.
So that's the part that we want to be aware. It's not just a negative, but it's sometimes for positive events that we can stack and affect us. But however, we can use the positive events in our memory lane to stack inside us so that it support us whenever we have a level of anxiety, for example, we can pull out these anchors within our body to remove the emotion. So these are very important. And yes, Terry, I wanted to really, just now you mentioned something, it really struck something in me. We all need someone else to look at our blind spot.
Yes.
Every single one of us, but we can't see ourselves. As I speak, I can't also realize, hey, maybe I have something blocking me.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we always need someone else to be a support, to be a mentor to us, to help us look at what is not working inside you, your inside job. And
Yeah.
then you must be open. If you're not open, you do not trust it, then it is you can't get far. And the most important word in this journey is this word trust.
Mm.
Trust, and you will actually have receive the result and the outcome eventually.
Mm. Let me say something about that. And some people may be a little bit surprised by this, and some of our client family members here at Entrepreneurs know this. I currently, today, I have 8 coaches, consultants, or mentors. 8. Okay. Now, people may think, well, Terry, that's like a little excessive. However, I am so open and curious, and I want a better version of me every single day. Like every single day. That's what I want. So, I have someone who sees my blind spots because I cannot see what I cannot see in terms of my relationships, in terms of my health, in terms of some of you do know I have a humor coach in terms of humor. Um, I know this surprises people all the time when I say I also have a business mentor. And they go, why would you have a business mentor? You do millions of dollars, you have 8 multi-million dollar companies. I'm like, because I also can't see what I can't see. And I have someone who is running so much bigger and so much faster and is just ridiculous. So I just want people to notice that. Carl said, and I really thought this was very relevant, we always need to support or see the parts of us that we can't see for ourselves. And I really believe it's important. And Stella, you said someone else needs to see our blind spots. We don't see what we don't see. Hey, Jeff, good to have you here. When we are looking in the mirror, we see ourselves one way and only one way, right? And we have to really have someone else point it out. I gave one of my coaches permission, who is my life coach, so to speak, and I said, you need to tell me when my baby's ugly, which means me, when I'm doing something that's not part of how I want to be in the world. And I think that's really an important thing is, and Stella also said, to be open and curious. If someone's going to say to me, your baby's ugly, I'm like, tell me, bring it. I want to hear it. I want to change it. Some people may get very defensive. And again, there's some things that are running there. Another thing that I want to say that Stella said, which was absolutely brilliant, was even some of the quote positive things we need to look at, we need to learn from, we need to build on. And sometimes those can actually get in the way. I see so many people not just liking what you say, like agreeing with what you say. Jeff, you don't know what you don't know for sure. Ken, there's always more to learn, right? And that's a good point that you brought up, Ken. I don't believe I'm the expert at anything in the ultimate expert. I believe that, yes, I know how to create multi-million dollar businesses. I've been super successful. However, I can still learn from other experts. So what should people do as a result of this live? Is there someplace they can go, something they can see? Because let me just ask you, how many people watching are like, now that I know Stella, I want to know more. I want to connect with her. I want to learn from her. And Stella, how do we do that? And how do we get into memory lane? Because I think that is so amazing.
I have a program. It's called Fear to Power. Exactly the caption that we
Yes.
have. And in fact, this caption came from the universe. I didn't, think very hard about it. I just let the universe, the subconscious, tell me what is required. And that's when he or she told me is Fear to Power. And this is the program name. So feartopower.com is where you can go. And then we can actually be on a journey to remove all this imprint that doesn't serve you so that you can actually have a great breakthrough in your life, in your business, have great clarity. And you can also support your family members and your friends out there. And in this journey, I feel that it is more empowering to get people out of this mental stress that's happening in this world right now. I mean, personally, I could have actually gone into my real estate and just focus on that. But I really want to reach out to help many people get out of their own way and really live the life that they really desire for themselves.
Hmm. I just want to make a comment because I've come to know you and just consider you a friend and someone that I just really admire and respect, Stella. I believe that one of the biggest things happening society wise, right? So I have clients like you from many different countries, and I always have. Society wise, I'm not talking particular country, is people are living in a lot of fear today, right? Jeff, you talk about mental stress, right? And that's Jeff's area. It's everything. It's, in the United States, we had an insurrection and we have people in the streets with guns and protests and all kinds of things that are like an everyday occurrence now, and shootings and killing. We don't even know if we can send kids to school. So people are living with that. People are definitely afraid worldwide, COVID, masks, no masks, send kids to school, don't send kids to school, politics, Afghanistan, where the next event is going to be. And it affects all of us. It affects all of us. And even if you are like me and you're on a news diet and you don't watch the news, you don't listen to the news, all of this is seeping in regardless, right? My husband said something the other day, and it had to do, I believe, with Afghanistan. And I said, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to talk about it. And he said, you're going to hear it and talk about it, whether you'd like to or not, because the world is talking about it. So I just want to commend you, because what you're doing now, Jeff, that's a good point. We're plagued with a pandemic, and part of the pandemic is fear, right? The whole part of this pandemic, and I don't want to get into like, how did this happen or any of that. Regardless, vaccines, masks, pandemic, we're walking around with fear. So I want to thank you first and honor you and celebrate you. You're bringing such a valuable program to the world. It is a program that people need. It is a program that I know changes lives. And I'm glad that you decided to move here. I know how successful you were in your other business. And I really want to thank you for what you're doing for us and for the world. So the best place for us to go then would be feartopower.com.
Yes, that's the best place.
Excellent.
You can know more about it. And this is really done to empower more people to really convert their fear to power, empower their fear to power.
Empower their fear to power. Absolutely love that. This is beautiful. Everyone is basically, agreeing here and loving the content you've shared. So my recommendation for everyone is that you go over to feartopower.com. You do it now because you'll get busy. Your day will, just do it right now. We're ending. And then connect with Stella. You can find her on all social media platforms. She's a part of our Heartrepreneur family here at Heartrepreneurs with Terry Levine. Anything that you post, she and I will respond to. And if you're watching this later, just go ahead and hit #replay. And Regina, you said what I agree with so much. The world needs you. And this has been food for our soul. Denise, I agree. Stella, I'm giving you the largest virtual hug. Thank you for joining us from across the world. We love you. I adore you. And let's all go over and let's do it now.
Yeah, I'm giving this away. So really take control of your own life.
Wow. I got goosebumps when you said that. Gang, she's giving it away. Fear to power. Do it immediately. Go for it. Thank you, Stella. Much love.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Love you.
Bye, all.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Much love.